Hello everyone, I'm Broughy1322 and welcome to the 20th episode of the Chalky Hazard podcast and the final one for 2017 with my co-hosts, Sugar-Free Nos.
Hello, hello.
Who is an ethereal spirit again because he doesn't have his camera and setup sorted. And RDT33 down there as well.
Howdy, howdy.
There you go.
You can't say howdy. That's my word.
So,
it's our word.
This is the final podcast of 2017 because I'm heading over to Sweden, and by the time I get back, you know, I'm not going to bother trying to do one whilst I'm there because it didn't work out too well last time. So yeah, you know, with the Doomsday Heist DLC coming very shortly, and by the time this goes up on YouTube, it will be coming tomorrow. We figured we'd take a look back at all the GTA DLCs this week and decide what we think are the best DLCs, what we think are the worst DLCs. We'll get the chat involved whilst we do this as well, try to figure out an overall list. And we also want everybody watching to get involved. We're going to put a poll in the description of the YouTube video when it goes live on Monday. And that's going to contain our short list of, say, top 5 to 10 DLCs. And you can vote on which ones you think are the best and the worst. And we'll follow up on it and see which ones people think. But hopefully we'll get a lot of people coming in with that. Now, these guys have chosen lists as well for what they think are their top DLCs and worst DLCs. I've done mine. How confident do you guys feel about your decisions at the moment? Are you happy with your lists? Are there any that you change?
Very confident. Very confident.
I'm happy.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well,
I mean, I don't think this is a competition. This is all opinion based.
No, I have the
best
best
competition.
Of course,
I'm gonna win. If you're gonna make it a competition, I'm winning. So.
No, it's not a competition. It'll be interesting, I think, more so than anything else, to see what everybody else thinks when we get the poll results in. So, you know, listen to what we say, listen to our lists. We'll debate it, obviously, between ourselves, and then make sure to vote on the poll that's in the description on the YouTube video. And it'll be interesting to see what the overall consensus is as to what the best DLC and the worst DLCs are for GTA. But we're going to start with the best. You know, let's be positive. Let's start out positive.
Positivity,
yeah.
Yes.
We don't know what that's like, but let's try. Let's at least
We've done
try.
it once before when we had Gentlemen on. That was pretty positive.
Yeah, that was
the one time.
We haven't seen positivity for many months on the show.
Many moons.
Many moons.
Many fortnights, if you will.
All right, I'll give my list first, and then we'll go over to Nos, and then we'll go to RDT, and then we're going to try and debate to get an overall list of what we all agree on. But I just want to...
All right.
What?
I said, all right.
All right. It seemed very loud, as if you were going to go on to something else there.
All right. Let's get this going.
Yeah, positivity.
I'm interested to see if you guys have any on your best that are in my worst or worst that are in my best.
Ooh,
that would be interesting.
That's going to be
That
interesting.
would be interesting, yeah. I don't think that... I can't imagine that being the case, but you never know. All right, so let's start with the best. My top 5. I almost put this one in the top 5, but I'm going to give it a special mention before I do, is the Beach Bum DLC. The very first DLC we ever got. It was actual free content. It was the only piece of free content we've ever had. You could get the vehicles for free. It was the Kalahari, the Bifter, the Paradise, the Speeder we got with that DLC as well. Just
God, what a terrible boat, though.
I know, yeah, but still, it was you know, a few interesting vehicles, free to purchase.
Interesting.
You know, just something. It was fresh. It was adding something new. It was vibrant. It was fresh to the game. That's it. The Bifter was one of the best. Still, I think the Bifter's a great one with great mods and everything.
All I remember is that update took my cop cars I had glitched in my garage, and that's all I care about, and I'm still salty to this day.
Okay. Well,
but
that's not...
They put that out like that because they were embarrassed about the launch of GTA Online. They're like, we got to make it up to you guys. We got to make this all free. You got to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And now what? Now, all right, got to keep it positive. Keeping it positive.
Yeah, keep it positive. Keep it positive. We're on the best ones this time. We've got plenty of time for the worst.
All right.
So that's just my special mention. That's not actually in my top 5, but it was close. So 5th place for me is the High Life DLC. We got in that one new apartments. That was actually the first time we were able to have more than one apartment as well.
Was it?
Yeah, High Life DLC was the first new introduction of more than one apartment. We had great vehicles, I thought, with the Huntley S, the Massacre, and the Zentorno, all released at the same time.
Do you just mean different models of apartments? I don't think you could. Was that the first time you could have two properties?
No, that's the first time we could own 2 apartments, say.
Oh, wow. I thought it came much earlier than that.
No, that was on. I checked. But it was all still reasonably priced. You know, the Zentorno was pretty expensive, but it was still reasonably priced. It wasn't adder levels, so everything was still cheaper than, and the Massacre was still in the same level of pricing that all the other sports cars were. And it felt like, to me, the High Life was the first time we got a bit more of a fleshed out experience of GT Online, where it wasn't just High Life. Okay, nice. Nice. So that was my number 5. Number 4, I put Import Export, because there's a lot to dislike about Import Export. You know, the drip feeding was as bad as ever at the time. It was the first time that we were introduced to sort of these ridiculous vehicles like the Rocket Voltic and the Ruiner 2000, things that, you know, you might not think necessarily have a place in GTA, really. It kind of fell out of place of the classic GTA, but of all the recently cut and pasted DLCs, I think that one is by far the best. Because like we actually got missions for the special vehicles, which was, you know, something to actually do with those vehicles that was lacking with all the other new vehicles that we've had. We got import export missions, which kind of felt like bringing it back to what GTA Online should be, you know, stealing cars. And it was reskinned CEO crates, but it was the GTA version of that, which is, you know, great. And nice. We also got the office garages as well. Which, you know, they were great. So there's a lot
that was such a big deal.
The office garages were huge. So it's something that people have been wanting, these big 20-car garages, which are fantastic. So people have been asking for that for a long time. So I think Import Export was probably, and that is the one that's on, out of all the top 5 on my list, that is the most recent. So it just goes to show. But of all the cut and paste DLCs that we've had recently, that one was by far the best, I thought. Top 3, 3rd place, Cunning Stunts. I've put in 3rd.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
People might think Cunning Stunts was a bit higher, but it was fantastic. I thought that was
going to be your number 1.
Cunning Stunts was fantastic. It was Rockstar's version of the racing update for me. It was everything that we asked for a racing update, but Rockstar did it their own way, really. They didn't put everything in that we wanted, but, you know, they put the stunts in and the stunt jumps, and, you know, this was kind of a DLC where it started to get outside of the realms of what GTA is all about. You know, we had crazy races in the sky and all sorts of weird stuff. But you could argue that all started with the Freemode update, I guess, because that was a bit weird as well, but that's where it started with New Gen. But it added so much extra functionality to the creator and allowed jobs to be created that we never thought was possible, and with all the racing cars, you know, the racing related stuff to it, from a subjective standpoint, just for me and what we do with racing, it was fantastic. Objectively, I put it 3rd. So top 2, I had a big difficulty with top 2. I really couldn't decide.
I think our top 2s are probably going to be the same.
Okay, well, I after thinking about it a lot, I had to put Heists at number 2. Heists was number 2 for me. What a DLC it was. You know, so much content, so much stuff. We had vehicles that were interesting and locked behind having to do the heists. We had some very expensive vehicles like the Hydra, but 3 million for the Hydra now, looking back on it, seems kind of reasonable.
I mean, it seemed reasonable at the time to me. I mean, given the power of the Hydra, you know.
So, and we had lots of other vehicles that came with, like, that DLC was a huge DLC. There was so many different vehicles that came with it as well, beyond just the military stuff. But the military stuff that came with it wasn't this weird futuristic stuff that we see now. It was actual, you know, more realistic stuff.
So it was reasonable. Reasonable is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, within the lore of the game, I guess you could say, what we would consider to be classic GTA.
The realm of believability.
Yeah. And heists themselves gave me countless hours of fun and enjoyment playing them through once, obviously, initially, and then doing them multiple times, Criminal Mastermind and all this kind of stuff. I think heists were just a fantastic addition to the game, and probably one of the, in terms of changing the gameplay for the majority of people, I think heists was just, it was such a huge change. It was revolutionary for the game. Yeah. But my number one had to have been the content creator.
Obviously.
The original content creator. It was the most revolutionary over heists in terms of just how we play the game. Giving us the ability to create our own jobs was just huge. It was massive. And like, I think as a feature, it kind of hasn't been given enough love by Rockstar over the years. It's had updates, but just it could have been so much more, and they could have put so much more love and care into it and support. But that's probably because it doesn't sell shark cards. But we're trying to keep positive. Positive.
Keep it positive.
Without this one being introduced to the game, Cunning Stunts wouldn't have been number 3, because without the additions that the Cunning Stunts DLC brought to the content creator, it was just another DLC with some more cars. So, what made Cunning Stunts so great couldn't have happened without the original content creator update. And a lot of people might play the game and not even remember the fact that, or they've come on after the content creator, so they don't realize a world of GTA without the content creator. But it was huge when you think of the amount of things that we've gotten from it, the races, the jobs, all these things that we've had. It was all from the content creator. And when you're talking about the amount of hours that you've gotten out of these DLCs, the content creator is by far number one, I would say, for me at least. But
yeah, it was a tough life before that.
It was. When you think, if you take away the content creator, what are you left with GTA? And it's like
nothing.
Yeah, it's a show without it, and without it, I think it would have had a much shorter lifespan. The game as a whole, and it is a shame that they don't fix the bugs or take more care of it. But it was so successful because they put all the emphasis on the amazingly creative player base that the game has, and the people who create these fantastic jobs. Ironically, ironically, it's one of the best experiences in the game, and it wasn't directly from Rockstar. They just gave us the tools to do what we needed to do. But yeah, that's my list. High Life, Import Export, Cunning Stunts, Heists, and then Content Creator. So what about you guys? Let's go to Nos. Let's see what Nos.
Over to Nos. And now that you've mentioned it, I've got to agree with you with High Life. It's not on my list, but I guess I thought, like I said, that was much earlier than the High Life DLC that we were able to buy more than one property. So that I do agree with you there, even if it is not on my list.
Okay.
But anyway, let's take it over into Nos's list. We've got an honorable mention, much like your Beach Bum. I do have an honorable mention. And as a small kind of niche community with the racers, I think that we have to look at these other small niche communities and be happy for them that they got what they wanted. So that my honorable mention goes to the Bikers DLC, actually.
Okay, interesting.
Because we got mostly what we wanted with Cunning Stunts, and the Bikers, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I don't know any biker RP guys, but from what I could see, not being involved in that community, they got a lot that they wanted. Just a ton of stuff that they wanted between bikes and having these sweet clubhouses and all these cool missions that you could do, and riding in formation, giving everyone buffs. Like, there was a lot to like in the Bikers DLC, I think.
I did like in the Bikers DLC that you could ride in formation and have everybody go the same speed as the captain or whatever. So you could be on like a scooter and somebody would be on a Chitaro, and you just going like 200 miles per hour down the highway on a Fagio.
Yeah, I guess the Bikers DLC is kind of what the Cunning Stunts DLC would have been for us without the content creator update that we got with Cunning Stunts.
Yeah, plus, I for me, I kind of like bikes in the game. not enough to like race them or anything because that's boring. But like the PCJ 600 is one of my favorite vehicles in the game with that big old headlight and everything. And what the clubhouse allowed me to do is, before, well, I can't have a motorcycle because that will take up a slot for a car, and I would much rather have another option to race in this class with than I would a bike that I'll occasionally use in free mode. So the clubhouses gave me an excuse to have and enjoy motorcycles. Yeah. So, that was something that I enjoyed. So I feel that Bikers is a good honorable mention. And, and that was that the first DLC where you had to go pick, CEO was the first.
Yeah.
But I do feel that I do feel that some of the missions in Bikers were a little more inspired. So.
Okay.
Anyway, into my top 5 list. We've got number 5. Coming in number 5, last but not least. And I don't think that this will be on your list, RDT, and it wasn't on yours, Bruff, but the I'm Not a Hipster update is my number 5, I think.
Okay.
I looked at that, but
You couldn't do it?
I couldn't.
Yeah, but every single vehicle, not to mention that, there were quite a few vehicles added in I'm Not a Hipster. But looking at the list, every single vehicle on this list is redeemable or enjoyable in some way. And you can't say the same for some of these other DLCs that have come out. I mean, the Pagani at the time was an excellent choice for Sports Classics races and very different because it was front-wheel drive. The Blade, super different muscle car that was on pace, handled like no other muscle car in the class. You had the Rhapsody, which was another on-pace car for... or did it break compacts? I can't remember.
No, Rhapsody broke compacts.
Right, okay,
no, it didn't break compacts.
Yeah, it did.
The Rhapsody was...
The initial testing...
Well, we had the Rhapsody and Panto together, right, in that DLC. Yeah.
And they were like half a second faster.
They were balanced with each other, but together they broke the rest of the compacts.
Nonsense.
Maybe not as badly as not as badly as like Sterling GT or something. Okay, fair enough.
Right, not broken, but more cracked.
The Brioso.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. I take it back.
The Warner being based a bit on the an old Skyline, that's amazing. The Glendale, cool little car. The Panto, I don't like the Panto, but a
lot of people did.
A lot of people do, and I can understand why. And then of course the 6x6 is cool. So I mean the I'm Not a Hipster update is probably one of the best of the normal quote-unquote updates that came. And by normal, I mean they added some clothes, they added some cars, and maybe they added a couple missions or new races or whatever little things, right? I would consider that a normal DLC. You don't get any big properties.
The classic DLCs.
Yes, and I definitely think that was the best of the classic DLCs. So coming in at number 4, much lower than probably on both of your lists, is the Cunning Stunts DLC. And it's
only
at number
one
4.
place less than mine.
Well, yeah, to be fair. And the reason it is so low on my top 5 is that I hate stunt races. I can't stand them.
Okay.
I really hate them. And the only redeemable portion of the Cunning Stunts DLC for me is the props and the fact that we can use them in the creator. And even then, that didn't come until multiple weeks after the drop of the DLC. True. So we keep it positive. It was a good DLC, and I liked the cars. But in the DLC.
Despite all these bad points that you've just mentioned, you're still putting it 4th on your top 5 overall list for GTA overall. So it's still good. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and not finally. Number 3 is not the final number. Coming in 3rd, taking home the bronze, is the Heist update for basically every reason that you said, Bruff. Okay. The Heist was a no net wrecks. I can't stand them. Doesn't mean I can't do well in them. All right. I can do perfectly fine. I hate jumps, and it's awful. Keep it positive. Back to Heist. Okay. So there was so much content in Heist and so much to do. And I mean, looking back on it now, like I would never get on GTA to do a Heist now because I've done them, dozens of times. But looking back at them, they really provided a lot of fun content and a good, you could earn 10 million on a reasonable challenge, which was a good source of money. So, yeah.
That's interesting. Your 3 and 4 is exactly the same as my 2 and 3. So I'm interested to see what you either put above or in between.
Yeah, well, this one might surprise you. Number 2 on the list for me is import-export, believe it or not. And that is solely based on the fact that it doubled how many vehicles we could own in the game. That is it. Putting aside every single other element of the DLC, not even taking into account any of the vehicles, any of the missions, owning anything. Import, export, and doubling your vehicles, because that's what's always been the most fun to me in GTA, is vehicles, owning vehicles, and customizing vehicles. And to suddenly go from 60 plus 10 to 120 plus 10 was amazing, in my opinion. That was astonishing when I got on and I realized that I just have all this empty space and all these vehicles that oh, well, I like this vehicle, but I'll never have space for it. I'd have to get rid of a racing vehicle, or I'd have to get rid of this vehicle that I really like. All those problems were gone.
Interesting.
So that is why import export.
Interesting that you put it so high as well, second.
So high.
It's a big deal for me.
Yeah.
It's a big deal for me.
Big impact on the game.
Yeah. And then number 1 is most likely the same as all 3 of us, is the content creator for the reasons that
I just want to point out, somebody in the chat, the Dark Ninja, said the content creator is not the best, and then because you can't remove lampposts and stuff, and it's not complete. But I think people might be missing the point of that. It's the impact that it had on the game. You know, taking away the content creator, the game would be completely different and nowhere near as good.
It would be garbage.
Just because something is not the best it can be, just because something is not the best it can be, does not mean it is still the best when compared to everything else that is on the table.
Yeah. So, like, you know, there's different ways you could go about this. You could go to a very top 5 list based on, I like this car the best, so this is the number 1 DLC, regardless of everything else. Kind of like how you put import export second on that one point. Or you can base it on the impact that the whole DLC had on the game. You know, there's lots of different ways that you can look at it and value the DLCs, and it's obviously all subjective to each individual person. Yeah. But yeah, okay, interesting. We all put, so we got number 1 the same at least, and you know, 4 of yours were the same as 4 of mine. So yeah, let's hand it over to RDT.
I think the hipster is the wild card. I think.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I'll take the reins on this one. So my honorable mention, even though we weren't at, is going to be the Valentine's Day Massacre, the original one, in 2014. Because before the testing even came out, I knew that I loved the Roosevelt.
Oh, it's so good. Isn't it so
sexy
good?
Car.
Such
the clothes, the clothes are amazing. I know it's not the best gun, but the Tommy gun, it just filled me with joy.
Thematically spoke to you.
You know, it just
the Roosevelt is a great car.
The entirety of the Valentine's Day Massacre DLC was just hit me right in the feels. You know, I like it. Yeah. I like that kind of style. But getting into my top 5. So number 5, which was ranked pretty high for Nos, but is ranked 5th for me, is going to be the import-export.
Okay.
And a lot of the same reason. I didn't really think about the doubling of the cars, but that does really mean a lot in terms of the game and what you can own and how you play. Because before that, you were thinking like exactly what Nas said, you know, oh, well, I like this car, I guess I'll have to replace it or blah, blah, blah. And now I'm in the mindset that why would I need to get rid of a car? I'll just save up. I don't need to sell anything if I can just keep everything.
Yeah. And especially with it all being in the same location as well. Like before, we had 10 cars and you had to go to different places to go get them. There's 60 in one location.
Sandy Shores and then up to Pluto Bay and then down to Del Perro Pier. And also, it's a great way to make money. You know, you don't really need somebody else to help you. You don't need other people in the session to help you with that. And it will, like you said, it's Grand Theft Auto. That is what it is. You're stealing cars. It may have been slightly reskinned, but the missions themselves are fun enough. And coming in at number 4, which I think might have been the same as Nos. I wasn't paying attention because I'm very vain. Was Cunning Stunts.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate what it added to the creator, and I marvel at the things that some people can create, but it's just not exactly what I wanted. I kind of preferred the bare bones, minimal amount of propping races that we had just with the regular content creator. So it added a lot of potential to people's creations, which I appreciate, and I wholeheartedly endorse people trying to create these massive different races and everything, but just not my cup of tea. But I understand what it added to the game.
Yeah, I think the thing I was just going to say, I think the thing that pulls Cunning Stunts back a little bit is probably the crazy stunt race aspect of it. Like, if it had been just more focused on racing, like we wanted, then maybe it would have been a bit higher up our lists. But I guess, yeah, with it being so focused on that, and it did change it completely in that respect. You can't find a regular race now in regular online play if you want to do that. So
yeah. Coming in at number 3, which when Nos said this might be the dark horse, I was cringing. Well, not cringing. I was going doing my little face. Number 3, I'm not a hipster update.
Oh, okay. Another hipster.
This is another one. It added a bunch of reasonably priced cars. At the time, they didn't seem reasonably priced, but looking back, they definitely are well underpriced if you think about it. Compared to the
when did
I'm
not a hipster come? Was that before? Was that still on old gen?
June 17th, 2014.
So it was still old gen at that point.
Yeah, it was still old gen.
Okay, right. That was before Ill-Gotten Gains.
Probably. No, I don't think it was.
Must be, because Ill-Gotten Gains was the last one on old gen.
Yeah, it came after High Life.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not a hipster. Came right after High Life.
Right.
It added a bunch of cars. Just all, like Nas said, they were all fantastic vehicles, and a lot of the classes were made more interesting. And a lot of competitive cars were added, and another one were the clothes. Even though they're not my personal style, out of the game, in the game, I love them. Like, I'll wear zebra skin tight jeans every day of the week in that game.
Yeah.
But
they were good fun. The clothes.
I love them. The clothes were fantastic, and the cars were fabulous. Number 2, actually, Broughy and my 2 and 1 were exactly the same. 2 was Heists, and 1 was content creator.
Yeah. Okay.
Heists, they were promised to us early on, and for the most part, I'd say that they fulfilled that promise.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
what they delivered to us.
Yeah.
It took a while. It took a long time, but they added interesting missions where you could earn a decent amount of money compared to the other, violent
compared to what else we were doing.
For Gerald.
Yeah. Violent Dut. You need to get on that. You need to you need to go back to the 2013 launch train where I had my tank parked outside of the car park on Rooftop Rumble. All right, and you could replay the mission, and then the tank would stay there even when you replay the mission. So you run over, which is 10 seconds, you get in the tank, boom, 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 mission passed, 30 grand. You need to get on that train, my friend.
Rooftop Rumble, Covenant, 16 playlist game mode Covenant.
I know. And then they nerfed all of that because we're not allowed to make money in the. Sorry, same positive.
Positivity.
And then content creator as RDT's number 1 as he is talking to somebody else. so we all had the same. You all had the same number 1, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And myself and RDT had the same list.
You mean the same 5 choices? Yeah, in a different order. So.
All right, we're good. But content creator, because it added so much to the game itself.
So we need to figure out an overall top 5. Let's expand it to a top 6, because I think with High Life and I'm Not Hipster coming so close to each other, that was kind of a little mini golden period of DLCs that we've all noticed. With High Life, and they were one after another. They were good DLC straight away. So maybe we should expand it to a top 6. But we need to see if we can debate on what we might agree to
I
be an
think
overall
I
list.
think the debate here is really just I'm not a hipster versus highlight, and which one was more important.
But what about because I mean, me and RDT both had content creators. Well, we all had content creator as number one, so absolutely, content creator is the number one for all of us.
That just did the most. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, me and RDT had Heists number two, whereas you had import export.
And if we look at I looked at the DLCs, as you said, in a way as how it personally affected me and the type of enjoyment I got out of it. Like if I changed that and I looked at the overall impact of what it had on the game, then absolutely I think Heist would be above import export by far. But
I was thinking it was more of an objective, like for the overall good of the game sort of thing.
I knew you would, which is why I looked at it the way I did.
Right, okay. Interesting what K-Dog's put in the chat, actually. Number of GTA DLCs by year. 2013 there was 4, but I mean GTA Online was only 3 months into there was 3 months of it, or 4 months of it in 2013 or whatever. 2014 there was 8 DLCs, 2015 there was 8, 2016 there was 7, and then 2017 there will have been 4. As the drip feeding got worse, but we'll positivity. We'll come on to that. We're going to do a top 5 worst. I think after listening to both of you guys talking about it, I would probably put import export higher than Cunning Stunts now. But I still think Heist should be number 2.
Yeah, I agree. But I still put import export behind Cunning Stunts.
Do you think?
That's what my list
now
says.
that I'm thinking about it,
that's what it says right here. Come on.
But when you think of like
that.
Cunning Stunts was revolutionary for what we had, but it was just building on the content creator itself. Whereas import export did have a lot of good things that did change the game for even more of a positive. Making it feel back like GTA with the stealing cars and the 20 car garages with 60 cars essentially. That's huge. I think that is more of an impact than Cunning Stunts in terms of a positive impact to the game, despite the things that we didn't like about import export with the drip feeding and stuff. Cunning Stunts gave us a lot, but it also changed the game in maybe a way that wasn't the best with all the stunt stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose you could boil Cunning Stunts down to just addition of props to the content creator, and which if you want to look at it so basically, you could.
Like if you took away
that's how I look at it.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it.
You should have been able to have access to those to begin with, to just add roads and stuff, but.
If you take away that from Cunning Stunts, the rest of Cunning Stunts doesn't feel quite as good.
Yeah, so there's an addition of props to the content creator with Cunning Stunts, whereas import export kind of expanded the entirety of the game, which is the same. It's a tough argument to make on either side.
I think import export would for me be an easy number 3 if we hadn't have had the CEO update beforehand, because import export was clearly the missions revolved around that, where cut and paste. There was one of the first of the cut and paste jobs.
Bring it back, then take it and go.
If it was a completely fresh experience without seeing that sort of style of missions before, I think it would be an easy number 3.
Like a month ago, it was a month ago.
So if we put content creator number 1, Heist number 2. Should we put import export number 3 and Cunning Stunts number 4?
From a subjective standpoint, are you saying?
From an objective standpoint.
Oh, okay, from an objective standpoint.
That doesn't mean it's an object. Like.
No, I know. I'm thinking about all of the objects in the game and how many objects were added, but. I guess I could agree with you on that. But someone's going to come in the comments or something and say, like, what about this one? And we're going to be like, no, we missed it.
Cunning Stunts brought the links. That might sway the decision. Well, it does for me, actually, now that I've remembered that. But they brought a lot of cool racing cars as well. But I think that's more appealing to us as people who race in the game, rather than the game as a whole. I think import-export was better for the game as a whole in terms of the features that it added. Possibly. Maybe we're a little bit biased towards Cunning Stunts because of the racing aspect. That's what I'm thinking.
Of course.
So, but you guys had I'm Not a Hipster quite high up, right? Do you actually agree with having import-export and Cunning Stunts 3 and 4? You had it 5th. Okay, well that's...
I
had it 3rd.
You had it 3rd.
If I'm gonna look at it from an objectification of a standpoint, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Then I would definitely objectify import-export at 3rd and Cunning Stunts at 4th. I had Cunning Stunts at 4th anyway. I would just need to switch Hipster and import-export because I just like the stuff from import-export.
I think Content Creator and Heists are our top 2, and those 2 are far and away ahead of 3rd and 4th, which are then like in their own little, very close between either 3rd or 4th sort of thing. And then I will defer to your I'm Not a Hipster update. I think we can put that 5th.
Really?
We can have High Life 6th because you two chose it. I personally think High Life was better than I'm Not a Hipster, but as an overall, 2 against 1 sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, you do bring... I mean, like I said, I didn't even think of it like the way that I thought of import-export in a way that, you didn't necessarily think of. You think of High Life in that way.
I guess.
As I didn't realize, I guess, that was the first opportunity to own more than one property. And at the time, going from 10 to 20 cars, I mean, that is doubling the amount of cars you can own.
It was like a mini import-export for back in the day.
Yeah, so... that was such an important leap to make, going from one property to 2, being able to, because at the time, there were so many classes in the game you had to race, right? You had supers, so I need a Zentorno. You have sports, so I need a Massacro or a Jester. You have muscle, so you need a Dominator, or an Elegy, yeah. You need, sometimes you do compacts, so maybe you need a Rhapsody or
Zentorno and Massacro introduced with High Life as well, which are like, iconic.
Well, you wouldn't have had a Rhapsody before the High Life.
That is true. Or you would have had a Blista or something to that effect. But that's half of your garage.
Yeah, that allowed you to have a racing garage with 10 vehicles for racing, and then a personal garage with vehicles for what you like.
Yeah, for things you enjoy, and that was a big deal. So I'm kind of torn.
What about you, Andy T? Do you still think I'm Not a Hipster was better
than High Life? Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
I mean, you did get more you got more cars at least.
Yeah, you did get more content. The content was better, but in terms of how it advanced the game, I think I agree that High Life, looking at it objectively, High Life was probably more important than Hipster, but not better, if that makes sense.
I think they had to come right after each other, because I think High Life was made better by the I'm Not a Hipster update because of all the cars that... If you didn't have a second,
if you didn't have a second garage, where are you going to put all these new cars?
All these awesome new cars.
They both went into each other to make each other better. Without the other one, they wouldn't have been as good on their own.
Can we call it tie? They were made like a month
let's do it a tie. 5th place as a tie. They were both released at the same time, pretty much. So 5th place as a tie for High Life and I'm Not a Hipster. 4th place for Cunning Stunts. 3rd import-export. 2nd Heists, and number 1 top DLC for the entire game is the Content Creator. Revolutionary. We'll see what people think if people vote on their own choices. We'll put in some of the special mentions as well to the voting, see if people pick those up. But we'll see if the vast majority of people think the same way that we do on our top 5.
Well, people are already angry that we've forgotten the business update. I have not forgotten the business update. I've just chosen not to put it in my top 5 because I don't feel that it's better or more important.
Business update. Yeah. What was in the business update again? Because I did look through all the DLCs on that list and
Alpha, Jester, Turismo, Vestra.
Yeah, I looked at that, and then I looked at High Life, and I thought business update was kind of just a bit of a worse version of High Life. There wasn't anything there that was, too special.
It's nice. I like pretty much all of those cars.
Yeah, it was back when DLCs were a simpler time for DLCs, and they were all good back then. I think you can't poke any holes in the older DLCs because there wasn't really anything bad brought into the game from them. Well, anyway,
could you buy another garage with the business update? Did that unlock a third property?
Didn't business come before High Life?
Business did, yeah.
Yeah, so
yes, no. Okay, no, okay.
It went business, High Life. I'm not a hipster.
That is the reason that we are not putting business anywhere.
Yeah,
is because if it would have been the DLC to add that second garage, then I'd be all for it. But the fact that it did not, that makes High Life the much more important DLC.
But those three, I mean, I agree with what people are saying. Maybe we'll include business in the short list of what people can vote on, because it was a good DLC, and those three are like golden period of GTA, you could say, with at least in the early DLCs. And the content creator wasn't too long before that, and the heists wasn't too long after that. So back when DLCs were a bit better in general, I think. All right.
Are we done being positive yet?
We're done being positive. It's time for the top 5 worst we're going to talk about now. And you guys will be able to vote on the top 5 worst as well. All right. I have 2 special mentions. I found it hard to get this 7 down to a top 5. My number 1 is easy, but special mentions are the Freemode update, which I mentioned earlier.
Really?
Because that was the first one where we started to get away from that classic GTA feel. I thought those Freemode events were kind of... There was something fresh and new and interesting, but I could take them or leave them, to be honest. And they were kind of taking away from classic GTA at that point. And it was the first one on new gen, so they wanted to push the boat out, but it kind of acted as a precursor to all the other stuff that we saw after that. And also, adversary modes were introduced on that update. Ugh. So that's a reason enough. So I had to have a special mention for that one.
Come on. Adversary modes aren't that bad.
95% of them are bad.
Come on, man. It's not that bad.
Further adventures in finance and felony. The CEO update, that's a special mention for me as well. Not necessarily because of the quality of the things in it. I thought it added some good things to the game with officers, but it was the start of what every other DLC would begin to copy at that point. So, just a precursor again to what was to come next. My number 5 spot is interesting that Nos had it as a special mention because it's the Bikers DLC.
What?
I have that as my 5th worst. And the reason is because the reason's twofold. One, it was the start of the proper drip feeding that we had. We'd had in previous DLCs where they release 3 cars later on or 5 cars later on or something, but we didn't have this one vehicle every single week routine. That started with the Bikers DLC.
Okay.
And it was...
So I feel like you're just holding personal grudges against these DLCs. You're not looking at them objectively at all. It's like, this DLC, it started it all.
I'm talking about the impact that it had on the future, how the game is. And all right,
It's
I mean, we can debate it. We can debate it. You guys might have different opinions. I'm willing to change, but and the actual jobs in there, unlike the import-export stuff, it felt even more of a copy-paste of the CEO stuff to me. The import-export had enough difference there to be interesting, whereas the Bikers was just pretty much exactly the same again, just in a different location and revolving around bikes instead, going and getting a crate, bringing it back. I know it was reskinned as, the cocaine labs and meth labs and all this kind of stuff, but essentially it was the same sort of thing. So I don't know, it just nothing about it spoke to me personally as
I can understand that. Not much spoke to me either, but
I get that it was the cunning stunts of the biker community, and I'm glad they got it. But again, I think if it was it would have been better just being put in as content without all the reskin of the CEO stuff. Whether we blame CEO for that and put that in as number 5 instead of bikers, I don't know. We'll debate it, I guess. Number 4 was executives and other criminals.
Yeah, trash, absolute trash.
Yeah, it was terrible. Lazy car designs as well, with all the armored versions of vehicles. We had 4 ballers that were just the same baller. One had a fatter ass, and then 2 of them were armored. 4 shafters, which were exactly the same. No imagination whatsoever. And executives and other criminals introduced yachts as well, which were the biggest waste of money in the game entirely, I feel.
So useless. There's nothing
10 minutes of enjoyment for $8 million.
Right.
Number 3, I have Smuggler's Run. The rant starts. Yeah, this is where the ranting begins for all of us, I think. Smuggler's Run was number 3 for me. It was kind of like import-export for planes, which I thought is a fantastic idea. And being able to have... There's a lot of things to... Well, there's a lot of things to like about it when it comes to being able to have, you know, instead of having a big CEO office garage for cars, you can have a proper hangar for planes, and that's something that people have been wanting for a while. You know, the actual planes that we got as well, fantastic, and not talking about the weapon, how weaponized they are, just the actual models and the things that you can do and all that kind of stuff. I thought the actual content was great for Smuggler's Run, but the prices were the worst we've seen. Just totally ruined it. The drip feeding was at its worst. You know, it's been the longest time since Smuggler's Run that we've not had a DLC in GTA. And transform races were built up so much and have been a huge disappointment in terms of the creator. Again, the creator not getting the love that it deserves. And unlike Cunning Stunts, this is actually feels like it's just taken away from the experience a bit because of what it could have been. And Freemode was ruined even further with all the weaponized stuff. And obviously, finally, the laser is just unforgivable to me. So, Smuggler's Run had a few good things, but many, many bad things as well. And it was the worst of the cut and paste style, you know, shark card hunting DLCs for me that we've seen. Number 2, and I've lumped 2 together for this one. You can probably guess what they are. I think
that might be my number 1.
Okay.
Let's see.
Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 and 2 I have lumped together as one because to me they are just one DLC that have been drip-fed. It's like having Smuggler's Run Part 1 and then Smuggler's Run Part 2. It was Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 and 2. They were the same DLC. And 1, it was the death of the updates on old gen, so those were the final updates for old gen. T20 still broken on old gen, by the way, still not fixed, never going to be fixed, it's still slower. And it was the beginning of the end. It was the beginning of the shady business practices, having quicker cars coming a month later, really expensive vehicles. We got the 2 most expensive vehicles in the game by far at that point, and still the most expensive vehicle with the Luxor Deluxe, 10 million. Just insane. And that was where they realized how profitable it could be to continue this trend. Even the supercars, the Osiris and the T20, were incredibly expensive, and it worked because they brought out the Osiris for 2 million. People bought it. A month later, they bring out the T20, which is a few tenths of a second quicker, and you
go, girl. Come on, hit him with that.
And people buy that as well, and it worked. And that was the start of the rest of the DLCs were all based on the fact that they did Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 and 2 and knew that it worked. And then you get all this drip feeding and high prices for everything else beyond that. Everything pre-Ill-Gotten Gains was good. You can't say the same about everything after Ill-Gotten Gains. At least it wasn't bad. It didn't have anything negative to take away from it. Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 and 2 changed that for me. This is where it all started. It was the beginning of the end, I think.
I feel like RuPaul.
And interesting that Cunning Stunts and Import Export are only 2 on the top 5 that come after Ill-Gotten Gains. And then my number 1 worst DLC for GTA of all time, in my opinion, is Gunrunning. just ridiculous vehicles, ridiculous
Yes.
prices. It ruined free mode completely for anybody who plays free mode in any kind of public setting. The same cut and paste jobs all over again, lazy nonsense. And probably the worst thing about the whole thing for me is the grindy paywalls for every step of the way in that DLC. You had to buy a bunker, then you had to buy an MOC, then you had to add money for the mod shop for the MOC, and this is all incredibly high price stuff, just to be able... Oh, then you got to do the research as well, sorry. All of that just to be able to modify one of the very expensive vehicles that you've just bought. You can't even do that without buying all of this stuff beforehand, and it was just ridiculous. It was just the whole I just can't even begin to explain how ridiculous the whole Gunrunning DLC was to me. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. That's it. That's my top 5.
All right.
I
Can I go second this time, Nas?
Sure, RDT, you go right ahead.
Thanks, man. Now my list is very different from yours.
Mine is
okay.
also different.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
At least 2 of them are, because my 5 and 4. I have no honorable mentions. I didn't feel like thinking of one.
No.
Actually, my honorable mention, now that you said it, might be like executives and other criminals,
Yeah.
because of the laziness of it and
Yeah.
how it kind of broke the sedan's glass.
Yeah, I was just... I forgot. I didn't even think about that. The shafters being in the wrong classes, and that was just it was so inept.
Class milkation is like, yeah,
Yeah.
nonsense. That's gonna be because it's not on my official list. I might have put it on if I had really thought about it, but I'm gonna go. My 5 and 4 are more redundant or unnecessary DLCs that no one cares about. So number 5 is Last Team Standing. No one cares. No one cares about Last Team Standing.
No.
I don't think
That was a bit of a nothing DLC, wasn't it, really?
I don't think
What,
anyone.
did it even add a car?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I don't think anybody wanted it. Nobody asked for it. Nobody plays it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
4. There's one redeeming quality about number 4, and my number 4 is Flight School.
Okay.
I like the Coquette. I like the Coquette Classic.
Yeah.
That's everything else. No one asked for this. No one wanted this. Why are you putting all your hard work and time into this?
Yeah.
Nonsense.
It was kind of similar to the Last Team Standing stuff. It wasn't really...
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The Coquette Classic for me brings it up to the point where like I can't possibly put it on a worst of list. I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
it was not entertaining in the slightest, but the Coquette Classic's a great car.
At least you got a car
Yeah,
with it, I suppose.
It's a good car. I think my other honorable mention would be Capture, because that's similar to the Last Team Standing. Like,
Yeah,
I don't.
there were quite a few little updates like that, wasn't there? That were, yeah.
You know, just
Yeah.
like why? So let's get into my top 3. Our top 3, I should say. Number 3, Smuggler's Run.
Yeah.
What can be said about Smuggler's Run? It's nothing good, pretty much. Other than maybe you have a hangar, you get some cool aircrafts. That's fun. But
Yeah,
it's
the hangar and the aircraft are the redeeming qualities, but everything else...
I feel if you
expense.
could,
yeah.
if you could store like large land vehicles in the hangar along with
That would be
planes,
much better, yeah.
I feel like it would have
Like
been
the tanks
a
and
lot
the
more.
Pegasus vehicles that you can't store in normal
Yeah, like
garages.
the Marshals and the Liberator
June.
and
Yeah.
the
That'd be
Dune.
nice.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
customizable Dune, please. It's so good, fully upgraded.
Again, another missed opportunity by Rockstar. Yeah. Carry on. Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, they just got the reskins. Go here, get this, do that. Spend all this money to start doing this. It's nonsense. Number 2, which we're gonna have an argument about this.
Okay.
My number 2 is Gunrunning,
Okay.
because I agree with all of your points, but I agree with all of your points on the grounds that number 1, which is Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 and 2, number 1 introduced the idea of scamming people for their money and tricking people into spending their money just recklessly based on the information that they had now, with plans to release things that were better in the future.
Yeah.
And that is so shady and just seems so unethical if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's
when
like,
you think,
hey, oh God. It's like, hey, you want this this lollipop? It's pretty good. And then a week later, you're like, that lollipop was okay. And then you're like, well, here's a much better lollipop for 10 times the price. You're like, oh, hell yeah, I'll do it, I guess, if it's a better lollipop. Whatever. Just the Osiris, which had become the #1, and you were like, crowned it king, #1, best sports car. And then a month later, never mind, you just spent $1.8 million, scratch that. $2.2 million, T20, best car available, broken on old gen. Get rid of everything. They tried it out and it worked. The idea of tricking people, and that is what makes it the #1 worst DLC for me. The additions were like, the content is nice. I like the cars and stuff, but their introduction and their of the shady business practice of tricking their customers, just
it set the scene.
It set the tone. Yeah.
It's kind of like Cunning Stunts wouldn't be as good without the original content creator update, and Gunrunning wouldn't be as bad if it wasn't for Ilgon Gains.
Yeah.
Is that what I think? The same sort of thing?
That's my justification.
Yeah. You wouldn't have the ability to upgrade a very expensive vehicle locked behind research, an MOC, a mod shop, and a bunker, none of which you know about in advance, if it wasn't for Ilgon Gains Part 1 and 2, I suppose. Yeah. Okay, interesting. People are getting on at you in the chat, by the way, and I feel like I should mention it that you said sports car for the Osiris.
Oh, did I? Oh.
Yeah.
You know what he means, chat.
You know what he means, I know.
Well, the Carbon Nazi is a supercar.
Go on then, Nos.
My
how
top
different
5,
is it going to be?
And spoilers, Gunrunning is not on my list.
What?
And I honestly,
wow.
We're going to have arguments.
Yeah, we're going to have arguments. But I tried to look at it from my own, like for the best of update, from my own personal view of what I experienced in the DLC. And at the time, I had hundreds of millions of dollars. It didn't matter that all of this was expensive, or, that I had to buy this and then this and then this and then this. I just bought it and I experienced it. And, the vehicles were stupid, but, I try to find something redeeming in any DLC. So anyway, let me get into my top 5. Basically 5, I've lumped everything together. If it focuses on PvP, I hate it, and I don't care. Just go away. No one cares with your stupid last team standing, your capture, your bulletproof helmets. Go away. This game is awful for PvP. The gunplay is bad. I want to play Red Dead Redemption again. It's time to stop. So that is my...
That's an overall number 5.
Yeah, that's overall number 5.
Okay.
PvP is trash. I'm sorry, GTA, but if you watch this back, but it's trash. Anyway, number 4, which was not mentioned on any of your list, and I have a personal seething hatred to this DLC. It is Lowriders Custom Classics. I hated this DLC. I hate it so much. Okay, this DLC, it has the Virgo is the only moderately redeeming vehicle in this whole thing. The Slam Van Custom is dumb. The Faction Donk is dumb. The Sabre Turbo Custom is dumb and overpowered and stupid and doesn't have a secondary color, and I hate it. This Tornado has dumb, tiny wheels that make no sense. And then who would make a minivan custom? Why? Stop.
I forgot about that.
I hated it so
much.
I
forgot that there was a second Lowriders. I mean, I saw it, and I just didn't realize how bad it actually was. And then the Moonbeam has just come screaming back to me. Do you know? do you know? In the trailer for Lowriders Custom Classics, they actually say "and new vans" with a picture of the Moonbeam. Yet they put it in muscle anyway.
I
Yeah, the Moonbeam came screaming back to me at that point, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. The Saber Turbo ruining the muscle class.
The Donk and the Slam Van Custom
the regular
are
faction
memes.
as
They
well.
are not real vehicles, chat. They are not vehicles, they are memes. I do not qualify memes as vehicles.
I have
was that
seen
Lamar
Donks
as well,
in
that
the
one?
cars. I have seen
Was it?
Was that
That was the
Lamar's
first
missions?
of both.
That was the first one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot. The custom classics is no. That
I
remember
hate
when
it.
custom classics came out, and it was just, why have they done this? Just more of the regular lowriders would have been fine, but they've just done it ridiculous, like to ridiculous levels now. Anyway, I don't know whether I'd put it on my top 5 still. I'm not sure. From a personal standpoint, maybe, but not objectively. I don't know.
It's all from a personal standpoint.
Yeah,
Here,
you've
buddy.
taken this completely the opposite way to me, and then RDT's kind of being in the middle.
Yeah, you just went full on hatred.
Yeah.
All right, my number 3 is the same number 3 as both of you, so we can at least agree on that, which is Smuggler's Run.
Okay.
Awful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awful.
We had that
for the
thread
reasons
for
that you've,
yeah.
the proposition, the thought, the idea of owning this big hangar and all these air vehicles is super cool. You think about it, you're like, yeah, man, I want to own a hangar. That sounds awesome. And then you do it, and you don't go in there because you've got a flying bike anyway. That it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, and the missions are copy paste, and it's so boring. Resident Sleeper. Anyway,
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah.
Moving
and
on.
Gary just mentioned, by the way, about the downforce changes about Gunrunning and Smuggler's Run. Like, they just add to everything that we've said, because that was more changing the cars and making other cars quicker and slower, and that's just Smuggler's Run and Gunrunning again encapsulated perfectly.
Yeah. So, number 2 on my list is Bodie McBoatface, the DLC, Executives and Other Criminals. It's so dumb. The yacht's so useless. It's so boring.
Yeah,
No.
Executives and Other Criminals.
No, it's so bad.
Was there a redeeming quality at all to Executives and Other Criminals? I don't even think there was. Was there anything interesting? Wasn't that where we had the 3... we had 3 interesting vehicles that were just lost in the sea of lazy nonsense. But there was the Falira,
The Mamba, Valier and the Mamba.
and there was something else as well, I'm sure. But
the Nightshade just adds to my anger.
oh, the Nightshade! All right, forget
got
the
so
Nightshade then.
cheated.
Yeah, okay,
It
even
got
worse.
so cheated. They just took this beautiful car and they just violated it. Like no one could ever violate a car. I'm so glad we fixed that on 5M. It's so good on 5M.
Yeah.
But the poor Nightshade. The Mamba was a great vehicle, though. I will say the Mamba, excellent vehicle. The Mamba is an excellent vehicle, and the Verlier is a good vehicle. So, those are the only redeeming qualities.
Forgive me for this.
Oh no, he's left. What a scumbag. Okay, we don't need him. We don't need him.
Nah,
What's your number 1?
My number 1 worst DLC was the Freemode Events DLC. That is my number
okay. Interesting that you put that number
Because
1.
Based on the sheer potential of what they could have done with Freemode Events. They could have made this living, breathing world that they always wanted to do on Old Gen but never had the resources. All of these different, contact missions basically in Freemode, and people were everywhere and doing everything, and, you could have had just straight up races in Freemode with people, and you could have done all these things, and instead you have these awful little mini games, for a lack of a better word, that don't pay out in any regard, are in general boring after you've done them once, and it I do agree with you that it does start, that's where the downhill starts, but just adding in these little mini games to Freemode, it's so pointless to me. And it goes against the theme of what I want from GTA. Shut up, RDT, I want to talk.
And I think it's an interesting point, because I had it as a special mention, and you've obviously had it as number 1. RDT, you missed out on his number 1.
Yeah, well, you don't want to see
Time trials are not races in free mode. Time trials are get the Body 801 and drive.
What was number one?
That is a time trial.
Number one was the free mode update.
Oh wow, that's
update. It's just the sheer potential of what they could have done with that to make this living, breathing world, and they squander it on mini games. Just
it's interesting because
dumb mini games.
In the top 5 list, we had High Life and I'm Not Hipster as close. They came out close together, and we all saw the benefits to both of those DLCs. And Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 and 2 was the DLC before the free mode update. And I feel like Ill-Gotten Gains was the start of the downhill slope when it comes to the money side of it, and, you know, scamming players and trying to get as much money out of the player base as possible. And the free mode update was the beginning of the downhill slope for the gameplay aspect of the game.
Yeah, and the overall theme of the game.
It stopped being GTA. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Interesting that you put that as number 1. I guess, you know, all right, okay. We need to try and figure... This is going to be a lot more difficult than the top 5 for the...
Yeah.
Because we have differing lists. You didn't put Ill-Gotten Gains in at all, Nos, right?
I did not, because I try, again, I'm looking from my personal perspective of I have a ton of money, it doesn't matter. So in those DLCs, I did find vehicles that were redeemable and that I really liked, and there was, you know, clothing that I really liked and stuff like that. So I tried to look at it from there and not the overall everything costs too much, which I agree on your points, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to not look at it like that just to kind of set myself apart from...
Okay. But for me, I just feel like, I don't know why I said it like that. For me, the Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 and 2, it's not just the general price of things. It was that Rockstar decided at that time, they're like, well, now we can just give them content over a span of however long we want to, because they're just going to keep playing.
Yeah, so that was the change in their values. I think that was when Leslie Benzies was, you know, eked out as well at that time.
The difference between Hipster, which gave us like 13 cars or something at once.
Yeah. 7, I believe.
100,000, whatever it was.
But there were other DLCs that gave us up to 13 at once. I remember one of them in particular. I can't remember which one it was, but there was a lot in one of them in particular. But yeah, we got all of them at the same time.
Now we get them once a week.
Yeah, it started off once. We got half of them one month and then half of them the next month with Ill-Gotten Gains, and now it's one every week, with half of them actually being less than half being released on the first part of it. So I think even though Nos didn't put it in his top 5, Gunrunning and Smuggler's Run both have to be in the top 5 overall for all of us.
Well, I had Smuggler's Run in mind.
You had Smuggler's Run, yeah, but Gunrunning as well.
Yeah, I agree.
I hate it so much with what they did with everything that I mentioned, with the paywalls and ruining prices, ruining free mode, ridiculous prices, the cut and paste stuff. Gunrunning for me has to be in the top 5. It's just where it falls, and I think it has to be above Smuggler's Run as well, because Smuggler's Run was kind of the same as Gunrunning, but just less egregious. I think. Yeah. It was expensive, but it didn't have these paywalls behind things and stuff.
Yeah, objectively, I would agree that Gunrunning is most likely the worst DLC.
All right, okay.
I do agree, but you know, I like I said, I'm speaking from my personal, you know, likes and dislikes.
I'm definitely going against Bikers being in my top 5, and I'm starting to think I should put the free mode update in there, because when you talk about it, it was the start of the downhill slope for the gameplay side of the game. That was when adversary modes were brought in. That was when things changed completely, and I think it was a negative that just led on to all the other DLCs after it.
Yeah, I just don't even think about the free mode update.
Yeah, but when you think about what it's influenced since free mode, that was the first DLC on new gen. We had all these free mode aspects. We got adversary modes, and then DLCs after that were all about adding new adversary modes, adding new things to do in free roam. All the stuff that we have now with Gunrunning and Smuggler's Run is all in free roam. And
again, man, I don't know if adversary modes are that bad. Like, are they really? Because Cunning Stunts came after that, didn't it? Came after free mode.
It did. It did. That's true.
Everything on New Gen came after free mode updates. That was
import
the first
export. Yeah.
I don't think it was that detrimental. Honestly, I 100% believe that Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 and 2 should be number 1. Just because of... And Broughy, you had it at number 2.
I had it at number 2, and I was close to putting it at number 1 until I thought about how much Gunrunning, like, took the piss, basically. But
yeah,
without...
but
now that you say it, you know, without Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 and 2, Gunrunning wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, and I see Gunrunning as a bad addition rather than an absolute detriment to the entirety of the game.
It's kind of like the difference between the content creator and Heists at our number 1 and number 2 and the top 5. Ill-Gotten Gains is more in a bad way, like the content creator was in a good way, whereas Gunrunning is more akin to Heists in the actual gameplay side of it.
Yeah, I just think that Ill-Gotten Gains was more detrimental to the overall structure of Rockstar's business model rather than Gunrunning. Like, Ill-Gotten Gains was what caused this entire shark card craze to come to be, in my opinion. That's what it seems like, at least.
Ill-Gotten Gains led the way to Gunrunning and Smuggler's Run. And for that reason, you would have to put it above them.
Yeah.
All right, I've been convinced. I would put Ill-Gotten Gains 1 and 2 number 1. I would put Gunrunning number 2, Smuggler's Run number 3. I don't know how Nos feels about that top 3.
I would concede and put free mode at 4 if that's what you're gonna do.
I definitely would want to put free mode 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm absolutely convinced on Gunrunning. That's for sure. I mean, the only thing that kind of kept it out of the bottom 5 for me was the drip feed vehicles, which were the Torero and the Cheetah, and the Infernus Classic, I think, was in that too? Or was that earlier?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was the only thing keeping it out. Like that, and that's
actually. But yeah, like, they actually had some decent cars in there, I guess.
But I do agree with you that Gunrunning, just the over militarization of free mode was just so bad. Yeah. Like I mean, in my head, I could not think of anything worse than someone in a Hydra, and I now know that it is a motorcycle that flies and shoots rockets, and someone that has a sniper rifle that shoots explosive rounds. That is the true worst.
Gunrunning brought the Ardent as well, which was an annoying thing as well, I guess.
Yeah, that was very annoying.
There was a lot about Gunrunning that I detest, and it's a lot about it in terms of the vehicles and stuff. But I just can't get over the paywall structure that they had with the MOC and then the bunker and all that.
Yeah, and I
can't get over that. So that has to be for me number 2. But I agree with RDT. Without Ill-Gotten Gains, that wouldn't have been the case. But it was Ill-Gotten Gains that spawned all of that. But I can't bring myself to not have Gunrunning right there as number 2, as a close second, because it was just what's the word? They were just taking advantage of the player base so much in that.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Just blatant molestation of their...
And Smuggler's Run was kind of the same, just to a bit of a lesser extent, which is why I had it as 3.
Yeah, and so free mode 4 and then executives and other criminals 5, I guess.
I think that's our list. Is there anything that we've missed for Nos on that?
I don't think so. I don't think I can be as principled as both of you with this was the start of the downhill, because Ill-Gotten Gains did have a lot of vehicles and content that I like. I mean, the Blackfin is an amazing car, the T20 is an amazing car, the Osiris, but you know, if I'm just judging the contents that's there,
they also had a $10 million Luxor Deluxe.
That is true.
That's true.
And what I said. I agree with you that it was the start of the downhill. I absolutely agree with you, but I can't bring myself to say that it is the #1 worst DLC when gun running is a thing. I personally can't do
That's what I was thinking initially when I was coming up with my list, because I was torn between those two originally, and I ended up putting gun running first. But listening to what RDT says, I do agree that without ill-gotten gains, gun running wouldn't have happened as badly as what it did. Like, that was the start. That was where it
and
all
I can
began.
see that point.
Yeah. All right, so we got 5th place is Executives and Other Criminals, just because it was so lazy. 4th place, the Freemode update, because it changed the game in a negative way from a gameplay standpoint, that all future DLCs would follow from that point on. Smuggler's Run number 3, because it was just ridiculous with prices and the increased militarization of Freemode, and just all of it was to sell shark cards.
Yeah,
Gunrunning number 2
as well.
What?
It was also like cut and paste.
Yeah, the cut and paste stuff, obviously. Yeah, we forgot about cut and paste nonsense. Gunrunning again, more cut and paste nonsense. Is a close second, I would say. It's a close second. It's almost one. With the ridiculous vehicles again, ridiculous prices, militarization of Freemode, cut and paste nonsense, and the grindy paywalls with the MOC, and then the bunker and the mod shop and the research just to upgrade a vehicle, just nonsense. And then number 1, worst DLC, Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 and 2, because of what that led to, basically. That was the start of the end from a money perspective. Interesting. So we've got our top 5 list for us 3. It'll be interesting to see what everybody else thinks. Like I said at the start, we're going to have a form on the YouTube video that you can fill out. It will have a short list of about 10 top 10. We'll include some of the others that we've mentioned that didn't make our overall top 5 lists. And you can vote, rank them from first to number 1, your top 5, and the top 5 worst as well. And we'll see. We'll follow up on it. It'll be interesting. Hopefully we can get a lot of people filled out to get a general consensus of what the whole GTA community feel are the best and the worst. But I think there's going to be a lot of people who maybe have different viewpoints on it. Like Nos said, his top 5 worst was different because he had the money to buy things, so it was more about what he enjoyed using.
It was there.
Yeah. Whereas I think myself and RDT were closer in that respect because we were thinking about it more objectively towards the impact that these updates had on the game and the general player base.
Because even if you did have the money, you couldn't buy the cars until 4 weeks after they announced the DLC or dropped it.
Yeah.
Because of ill-gotten gains and the drip feeding that it kind of introduced.
So it'll be interesting to see what I think it'll be. I think there's a lot of people who aren't quite as I don't know whatever the word is, but opinionated on this sort of thing. Passionate. There's a word that I'm trying to look for about it, but not quite as bothered about the game practices and the business practices of Rockstar as we are, or at least as I am. So it'll be interesting to see if I think the top 5 might be very similar for the overall to us, but the bottom 5 could be quite different depending on whether people want to see what Rockstar have been doing and take a offense at it, or just take it on face value for what it is. So we'll see. But like I said, if you're watching this on the video, there is a link in the description and you can fill it out. Please do spread it around as well. We'll get multiple opinions, try and see an overall
I'm interested to see like the dissenting opinions too, like with Dusk and Viper there in the chat. If you're that plane guy, you love planes, that is your thing. You built model planes since you were 9. That every plane just by the shape of its trail in the sky. You probably love Smuggler's Run, and this is the best thing ever happened. But
and if you like the militaristic style of things, you might like Gunrunning with the military vehicles. So I guess
I don't know if it's so much if it's so much military as fantasy. I mean, it's a flying motorcycle
or whether you've come from the old GTAs and or how you've been playing GTA Online since it first released on old gen and things have changed too much, and everybody's different. So it is going to be interesting. People might think Cunning Stunts is one of the worst because of the things that are bad about it. and they put Smuggler's Run as one of their best because they like planes and don't like car races. You know, in the same way that we've put Smuggler's Cunning Stunts high because we like car races and it brought a lot to it. So everybody's different. We'll see what the overall perspective is. But I'm very happy with the number 1 on our top 5 list. I think the number 2 on our top 5 are just set in stone for me, and the number 2 on our bottom 5 are set in stone together. In fact, the top 3 are definitely the top 3 for our worst 5. It's just Gunrunning and Ill-Gotten Gains are just so close together on how bad they are that they could almost be tied, to be honest. All right, so let's talk a little bit before we move on to the regular segments about the new DLC.
Do we need to be positive or negative?
This is we're gonna go. I was gonna say realistic, and then I realized that meant negative. Let's try and be balanced. Let's do that. We weren't gonna focus on it too much. By the time people are watching this, it's either already out or it'll be out in the next few hours if they're watching this on YouTube. Or listening to it. So we're not gonna, and we're probably gonna be saying the same things as what we've done before Smuggler's Run and before Gunrunning. It's all the same sort of stuff. And it has been an interesting discussion to have this about the top 5 best and worst, spawned by this, new Doomsday Heist DLC. Is it going to be in our top 5 best or worst lists? Do you think? What do you think? That's a question now. Will our list change in a few days' time? Anybody?
I would say no. I'm going to say neither of our lists are going to change top 5, best or worst.
My personal worst list could possibly change because flying cars are stupid, because flying bikes are stupid. It's all stupid. I want my GTA back. Can we please make GTA reasonable again?
Yeah, I know, that's the thing, isn't it? Flying cars, flying bikes, rocket bikes, rocket cars. Yeah, GTA is not GTA anymore, is it? It's a shame. Thing is that there's ways that they could have put these vehicles in. Like, there's the submarine vehicle, the DeLorean, which we're getting, the Deluxe, obviously.
Deluxe. Stop.
Yeah, but even the Vigilante and things like that could be put into the game in a law-friendly way as movie props. Like the JB700 is meant to be a movie prop. We're in LA, it's where movies are made. Could be an old decommissioned movie prop that you can get. But then they make them fly, and they make them shoot rockets and do all this.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, all right. I want to ask you guys an honest question, and that is, what do you want GTA to be?
I want GTA to be the experience that we had with the game around the time of Ill-Gotten Gains. With the prices of the items before Ill-Gotten Gains.
Okay, so you want... Hold on. I just want to clarify the question as well.
All right.
You want GTA 5 to be what it was originally. Is that what you guys are saying? Because if we go back to any of the beginning of the 3D generation, we had cheat codes. We had cheat codes, and that was one of the best parts of the entire game was flying cars, pedestrians go crazy, jetpacks.
I have to disagree with you, honestly. I've played through every 3D era game multiple times. I've never used cheat codes myself. That type of gameplay has never really interested me.
I did, but I don't think it's a huge thing. I think I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't miss it.
It's not a
I enjoyed it at the time, but I don't. I think as I was mentioning in that video the other day, yesterday, Vice City for me was the perfect GTA game in the 3D generation, and when I was likening GTA Online's development to, it was bare bones at the start like GTA 3, and now it's crazy with weird vehicles like San Andreas. I still think that middle area that was closest to what Vice City was to the 3D generation was the best era of GTA 5, and I think what GTA 5 was, the single player game, if we had that online, just slightly improved, you know, better vehicles coming, things like that. Obviously the import export stuff with the CEO offices and the garages and all that kind of stuff, but without all the other nonsense that we see that is getting GTA closer to Saints Row and not being realistic. I feel like GTA loses itself now, and it would be so much better and more deep of a game if it was a bit more grounded and realistic.
I agree. Like, what I want from GTA, the GTA game I want, is one that is a living, breathing, open world that is based in an engaging and reasonably believable satirical world. That is what I want from my GTA. And we don't have that anymore. We are not grounded, and I don't like to use the word realistic when I talk about video games.
Yeah,
I use the authentic.
Yeah.
Like authenticity is more important than realism. You know, the say, for instance, in like a shooter, like the feel of, say, a Battlefield game is by no means realistic in any way, but it's authentic enough to give you the feeling that you were looking for from a first-person shooter. If you don't, just straight up like Call of Duty, or, you're not an Arma guy, right? You want something that's in the middle, and that's, in that genre, that's where I would put, say, Battlefield. But, there has to be some level of authenticity, and I cannot keep that level of authenticity in my head when someone is shooting me with rockets from a motorcycle that flies. I can't do it, and that is what I want from
someone
my GTA
likened
experience.
it to Fast and Furious, how it started off as people racing cars and the stories of the early Fast and Furious, and now it's gone into being crazy territory of heists and all this kind of stuff. GTA is all about Grand Theft Auto. It's about stealing cars. It's about cars, but it's about criminal activity and how that develops. And we needed more of that, I think. And as Bias Sign says, more missions, more the GTA 4 map, Liberty City, not these adversary modes and these free mode mini games and all this kind of stuff that takes away from just that more like Dos says, authentic GTA experience. And
okay, but
what's your answer to that though?
I'm gonna play.
Go on then.
Sort of devil's advocate,
All right.
Maybe like a Beelzebub or something. One question I would post, and I don't want an answer right now because I'm going to ask it. Say something else. Is should GTA Online be held to the same standard that single player is?
Yes.
Now, for me,
Sorry.
I think it's a difficult one because GTA itself, the single player, is the same as it has been since it was released. A shame in itself. But GTA Online obviously has changed a lot. I personally grew up around the 3D era, and I was one of those kids that this kid is killing hookers, and I don't want to see it happen. Like that was the type of game that I played with my friends. We passed the controller every time you died. You went out and caused mayhem. We did cheats. That was what GTA was to me. It wasn't until very recently that I started caring about the story. GTA 4, GTA 5. So the fact that it's silly now doesn't really bother me that much. And the addition of this to GTA Online doesn't bother me that much. And the reason why I don't think that this is going to be in our best or worst, the Doomsday DLC, why I don't think it's going to be alter our best or worst, is because I think it will be more along the lines of heists. And a lot of times when we see something that we've already seen, it's not as good as it originally was. So heists were great. That's why it's at number 2. This is the second iteration of heists. And we're like, all right, cool. I hope this is good. But it's not going to be go here, take that. It's going to be my prediction is that it's going to be similar to what heists were. So that was all over the place, but I'll stay here.
I mean, it's interesting what you say. You know, I guess it depends on what you want from your games. Whether you want a bit more of an authentic gameplay experience with other people, and it's more of an MMO style game, or it's more of a go on, do crazy stuff, have a lot of fun with it, and then be done with it sort of style of game. And I think GTA is so many different things that it's difficult to know what is best for the game as a whole, especially with online just appealing to so many people and lasting for so long. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you know, I guess I can work my way around a lot of the vehicles that we have, and I think a lot of the vehicles are actually really cool. It gets a little bit beyond the limit with the flying rocket stuff, and when things are so militaristic and rockets everywhere shooting out of and guns and all that kind of stuff. If it was just reined back just a little bit, we still had these interesting vehicles, but they didn't have guns on them, they didn't have rockets on the back and could fly, things like that. Mm-hmm. and the gameplay experience in general was just brought in a little bit, maybe, and that would probably be fine with me. I could probably take GTA Online in a wide range of MMO style or crazy style. It's just when it crosses that line either way, maybe it's probably best in the middle, I think. As for the Doomsday heist, go on.
What I was gonna say was, to me, although it's not what I imagined it was going to be, GTA Online kind of ended up being exactly what I thought it was going to be, in a way, in that you can do whatever you want, literally. You can get a lowrider and pimp out.
Unless you want to store a cop car.
unless
still salty. Sugar-free Nos, salty since 2013.
You know, you can role play your lowrider with the tornado all jazzed up and hydraulics and whatnot, or you can be the military guy, or you can play golf all day or tennis or whatever.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. That's what it should have been. The beauty of being able to do what you like the best from it.
Yeah.
But I feel like
unfortunately,
the military stuff and those kind of things went too far, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I think the idea of being a super militaristic, like type guy, and being the idea of a guy who just goes to car shows and does races, those two ideas are so wildly different, and they cannot coexist. I feel the guy who just wants to kill other players with the highest artillery that he has cannot coexist with the guy that wants to go to car shows and show off his lowrider. It just
in a public lobby.
In a public lobby, sure, but in my I want everything to be able to be done in a public lobby. Okay, I mean, even if there are jerks, you can thin them off, or you can do, you can whatever. It just doesn't really work, is what I'm trying to say. Like, all of these different ideas at once does not work in the same place.
But I think it does if you were to bring it, like, rein it in a little bit. Like, say the military vehicles that we have now, none of them had weapons that were usable in free roam, say. And you could have people going to car meets with super fancy sports cars or supercars, and then you'd have other people in the session who would be bounding around in their military vehicles, having a lot of fun with it. And then there was game modes, like we have now, for racing those fancy vehicles. And then other game modes where people can use their high militaristic vehicles with the weapons enabled. Like, I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive. I think they can coexist if it's done correctly. It's just that at the moment, because they've gone towards the militaristic standpoint with the vehicles and allowed them to be usable in free roam sessions, those are obviously the kind of people who will take over because they've got guns.
Yeah.
So I think they can coexist, but I don't know.
It's a mess.
My opinion is that GTA Online and the people that are in charge of GTA are currently their own worst enemies, because you've got DLC after DLC after DLC coming out, and they're being told we need to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's what's happened. You've gone from running drugs, in the executives and CEOs. That's absolutely fine. That's an acceptable, authentic GTA experience, running cars
absolutely.
and whatnot. And then it's ramped all the way up to this militaristic, just craziness that's happened. And it's because they've got it into their heads that each DLC needs to be bigger and bigger and bigger. And it really doesn't. Just think of more innovative ways to engage your core player base. That's my opinion on it anyway. I just think it's being misled at the moment, the direction of the game.
I think that's true. Our producer, MB Holiday, who's got the wise words as always. I think that comes from the shark cards. They have to make things as bigger and better so that people will get back on the game and spend money on these things. And it's a shame that is how it's going, because I don't think they'd make as much money if they just continued releasing regular cars or upgradable lowriders and things like that, or militaristic vehicles if you couldn't use them in free roam. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's its own worst enemy. It's bringing in, like with these flashy trailers and everything, you're bringing in all these new players that have never seen this from Grand Theft Auto before, but at the same time, you're alienating your core player base. So it's diminishing gains. I mean, it's never going to...
Well, your core player base is the guys who have been grinding money for,
the
for
ones
all
who aren't
these
spending money on it anyway.
And now they're sitting there going, "Oh shit, why am I getting blown the fuck up by a flying motorcycle that's come past me?"
Yeah, and then they stop playing. But the guy who, all these new players are buying shark cards. Exactly. There's no motivation to appeal to your core player base when the new player base is the one who's, even if a guy pays $60 for the game and then comes over and buys, a $20 shark card and then never plays the game again, that's still gaining them more than what that core player was gaining them at all.
The thing is, we're going to see this again, I think, ramped up, to a next extent with the next DLC, with the everyone's talking about the heists, but when you actually look at the vehicles in it, again, it's more ridiculousness, more craziness, like the DeLorean, the submersible vehicle as well, the futuristic tank-looking thing and the futuristic vehicles that we have in there. Again, this whole idea of it's getting more and more and more. And I think that is going to be the negative part of the whole thing. Obviously, the whole theme of Doomsday, again, it's going, again, further away from the crime aspect of just robbing banks and stealing money. But if the heist itself, and it seems to be one heist where there's multiple different setups, multiple different parts to each setup, so it could be quite an involved heist, which would be great to see. If that heist is fun and enjoyable and gives us actual gameplay content, then that will be the positive side of it. And if it might be such a thing that it balances out all the negative aspect and obviously the huge prices that we're inevitably going to have, that I agree with RDT that we're not going to see this DLC end up on our top 5 best or top 5 worst. It's going to be somewhere in the middle where there was some great bits, there was some really bad bits, but on the whole, it doesn't deserve a place in the top 5 best or worst. I think kind of that's how this new DLC is going to be. We're going to get a great experience, but it's going to be more of the same bullshit that we're used to having with all the other stuff. It could go the other way. It could be that they put things in for reasonable prices for a change and the heist is really great and it's one of the best DLCs we have. It could go the opposite way, and more likely to go the opposite way, where the heist isn't as good as what it should be. There's all sorts of grindy paywalls and things that you need, and the vehicles are even more expensive than we expected, and it goes into one of our top 5 worst. But I think at the moment, based on what I'm seeing and what I'm kind of expecting from it, it is going to be that middle, mediocre aspect to it. I think that's my thoughts on what it's going to be like, but we just don't know. We just don't know, and it's impossible to second guess them again. We've done this before with Gunrunning, Smuggler's Run. Every time we see these great trailers and we say, well, that would be really cool.
Was the trailer that great, though? I mean, can we attack that? I mean, is this something that appeals to you? Because I can tell you for certain that this is something that does not appeal to me in the slightest.
You mean the Doomsday Heist trailer?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think it showed us enough of the actual gameplay. It showed us a bunch of flashy stuff, and we were like, oh, ooh, ah.
I was like, oh, look, they've ruined the Deluxo. Oh, look, they stole our idea for a submersible car from 5M. Oh, look,
that you stole from James Bond.
Yeah, that we stole from James Bond. Don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. But
yeah, the trailers are always very well polished, but they don't really give much insight, I think.
Yeah,
they're a bit of a nothing to me.
This Doomsday Heist storyline, I at least hope that it's a somewhat engaging, lengthy storyline like Heists were, and not just
having said that,
special vehicle missions.
There was a bit of that. Tez Funds put on Twitter that the name of the AI that we see in that trailer from this DLC was Clifford, and that name was referenced in the game files in 2015. And there's various other assets that we're seeing in this DLC that were also in the game files in 2015 that were at that time thought to be single player DLC content. And it's theorized at the moment that the stuff that they were working on for single player DLC has now been turned into this Doomsday Heist DLC for GTA Online instead. So maybe it will have some substance to it. Maybe it'll have something there that this was cut single player content because they decided it wasn't going to be profitable enough, and at least there will be some of that single player magic with a storyline that's good, or just something, a bit of quality that isn't the copy paste nonsense. And obviously, with the jetpacks being added and the Chiliad mystery being solved, I guess they're answering those sort of things that people have been wanting and being thinking about for a while. And the Lamar missions as well, as mentioned, that could have been the same sort of thing. That was more cut single player stuff that they decided not to go with. So it'll be interesting. I'm hopeful that it's going to give us something good, but it's obviously not going to be as in depth as what this content would have been like in single player. But I'm hoping that it's just going to be, if it at the very least is more of heists that we have already, just a new storyline, I'll be happy with that, because that's more than what we've had since Heists, to be honest.
I believe Hazard has just called the entire storyline there. I guarantee you 100% that's the storyline.
Clifford, could he turn out to be a rogue AI? That would be super original.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm afraid I can't do that, Lester. I can see it already.
Yeah.
So
the story, as far as we know, it would make a lot more sense in single player than multiplayer. Well, that's the thing. I think it was that's being theorized at the moment, that it was meant to be single player DLC, and now it's been repurposed for online. So we'll see. Anyway, all right, interesting.
We ready to close up? To close, 5M is the future of GTA, and yes. I want to uninstall.
And leave your thoughts down below in the description for what in the comments as well of the YouTube video, and fill out the form that's in the description. I'll put a pinned comment on as well, linking it, because I want to get people's opinions on best and worst DLCs.
Yes, I want to see them. I'm very interested. Yes.
And in the first episode of the Choking Hazard podcast in 2018, we'll come back on this and see what people thought. It's going to be a long wait.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Long wait.
I can just see the disappointment on Andy's face.
Year.
Yes. Do we want to do our regular segments?
I suppose we do, don't we?
I guess why not? If anybody wants to get involved in asking a question based on what we've been talking about, or just anything in particular for either of us or all of us, get in Discord for those who are here on live watching on Twitch. Get on Discord. You can ask your question in the phone bank, and MB Hammer will be there to sort you out. Whilst people are doing that, should we do the choke of the week?
I suppose we should.
Alright, let's do it. I haven't watched these yet, actually. So
Have you not?
I haven't. I'm hoping they're going to be good.
It's the first week we've not selected a single GTA clip.
Wow, okay. Oh, well, that's interesting.
Ooh.
Remember, everybody in the chat watching live, be sure to keep an eye out for the link in the chat when we've watched all these so you can vote on what is the choke of the week. It's up to you guys. Where do we need to go? There we go. Alright, starting in now. So we're in Assassin's Creed Origins.
This is something I can get behind. Horse race.
Horse racing, final lap. First place, lap 3 out of 3.
Oh, we've
Second place.
We've got several carriages, chariots, whatever, moving up alongside. Around the hairpin, nice drift there, throwing it into a slight drift.
Oh!
There's a man flying and ragdolling. And rip.
Yeah, rip. That's not gone well. Shouldn't have looked back.
Never look back.
Alright, what game is this? I don't even recognize
This is Forza Horizon 3, a game that deserves a rant of its own, but we don't have enough
Forza
time.
Horizon 3? It looks unimpressive graphically. Anyway,
it is unimpressive.
Forza Horizon 3. 85% progress. Alright, we're getting there. We're getting through the order.
Props to him for using not a 500,000 horsepower Mercury Cougar or whatever, you can use in this game.
Looks like he's in the lead by a decent margin. Oh, the tree! No, the tree! Oh. And now 95%.
And ghosted
second place.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh.
He was right on this. It was the last corner of the race as well. That was a true shock.
That's rough.
That's a rough one.
And this game is Forza 7.
Okay, Forza 7. This looks
That's a
graphically
choke
better than Horizon.
in and of itself.
Oh, the rumble strips. They seem to be low grip.
Oh, he almost held it.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, almost.
So this isn't a case of holding it. He's showing off.
Oh, he's showing off.
Oh.
Let's watch this again. My showmanship did not pay off. Oh, I see. So he's coming around the final corners, and then he's trying to do a little bit of a drifty show-off thing.
He's like, sup, bitches?
Gets it wrong, tries to save it, gets it wrong again. Oh. And then in second. Yeah. Second for life. Let's watch the other two as well, since we've watched that one again.
Sup, bitches?
That's not going well. So, number 1 is the chariot race. Number 2 is the Forza Horizon last corner nightmare, and number 3 is Forza 7. I don't know, because the Forza 7 one was a replay, so we don't know whether that was online or whether it was single player, or whereas we know that the Horizon clip was online.
Why would he be showboating?
Why would he be showboating in a single player race?
player.
Yeah, that would probably be deserving of a choke of the week award of its own, I guess. Oh, that tree. And then gone. Second for life. We've had a few seconds. It's been a good choice. A good selection to choose from, I think, this week. So what are we going to go for? This is the straw poll is in the chat. It's up to you guys. Which is going to be our choke of the week? Is it going to be number 1, number 2, or number 3? I don't know. I think I have mine. I think. Yeah. I've decided. What have you guys got one yet?
I also have decided, but I might be biased. But I'm still going to decide.
I am also biased, and I don't like the fact that I'm very biased.
That means I feel like I know what RDT's selection is going to be, based on him being biased. But Nos has thrown me off with that. So,
Really?
yeah, I've got mine. I think if the one that I'm choosing doesn't win, it'll be rigged. That's what I'm saying.
Oh wow.
Really? Huh? Okay.
All right. I think we should get MB Hammer to give us the results. People have had enough time to vote now.
Well, at least if there's enough. Not the results yet.
We have 80 votes. They're still coming in, but I would say we have a clear winner.
cut winner.
Clear winner. Okay.
So.
All right. Okay. Right. Let's give our thoughts first.
All right.
RDT, yours was clip number 1, right?
How'd you know that? Yeah, I'm gonna go clip number 1.
So
what about you, Nos?
I'm also going clip number 1.
You're also clip number 1.
I like horses and I like Wonder Sniff, so you know we gotta.
What are we gonna say, MB Hammer?
Those are.
So before we go any further, you guys forgot to mention the names again. So it's
No, I do that on purpose for impartiality of voting.
Okay. So the first one was our chariot race. That was Wondersniff. Our second one was submitted by SofaStream, and our third one was Jimmy Jam Flim Flam, which is a great,
What a name.
Jim Jam Flim Flam.
All right, so you two went with the first clip. I absolutely went for number 2, the Forza Horizon clip. Hitting that tree on the last corner in an online race and finishing
just
second.
like usual, you're probably correct, but it doesn't make me happy.
I mean, at least they came in second. Wondersniff was eliminated from the entire race on the last lap.
Yeah, but it was no. I'm sticking with it. All right, come on, MB Hammer. What are our results?
Okay, in third place with 22% of the vote was choke number 1, Chariots of Fire.
We'll get it next time, RDT. Just the fact that you're playing Forza Horizon 3 is a choke in itself. I agree with Blake in chat. What a trash game.
Man, come on, man.
In second place was, with 23% of the vote, was choke number 3, Showboating. And in first place with 56% of the vote, Final Corner Tree.
Yeah. Like I said, if it didn't win, it was rigged.
SofaStream. Well done,
GG SofaStream. Well done. You are terrible. You are awful. You're playing a terrible game with terrible graphical fidelity, and you're terrible at it as well.
Terrible
you win the choke of the week.
On that clip.
Yeah, not good.
All right. RDT, do we have Apple Juice Minute?
We could.
We could?
Have an Apple Juice Minute.
I would like it. I would like to see that. I think the chat would like to see it.
All right. It's not going to be that great. I'm going off the top. Well, keeping in line with my last review, my last minute, I decided to go with something even more decadent, even more just filling and rich than what I had was the black chocolate stout from the last episode, if y'all remember that. This is on the similar vein. But this is like I said, it's more decadent. It's even richer than that, and this can double as a birthday cake because that's exactly what it pretty much is. From the Victory Brewery, we have the Black Forest Cake Stout with cherry. Now, I will tell you, this thing is the most ridiculous most ridiculous thing I've put into my mouth. All right.
I find that very hard to believe.
All right. Let's say we'll take that back. During this segment. This says it's a victory for your taste up here. It is definitely not a victory for your waistline because this legitimately feels like you're eating an entire cake.
How many calories does it have? Does it have nutrition facts on it?
7.5% alcohol. I don't see any calories. But I imagine it's up near like the 3,000 to 4,000, I would say, per bottle. This boy it's rich. And if you want to have an entire dessert for your entire holiday season in one bottle, in 12 ounces, I would go with this. So get the Victory Black Forest Cake Stout with cherry. Suck one down.
Interesting. Interesting.
You've started to like drift away from like reasonable alcohol choices and actually finding special things, and I'm really happy. Like it's kind of cool. Like I never would have thought that there is a chocolate beer. What? Like
yes,
Apple Juice Minute is evolving and
it's
informative
and interesting and compelling, which is shocking.
I like that we had a few more Apple Juice Minute emotes as well. With the apple beer.
Yeah, we're growing. We're growing the RDT army. That's what we call ourselves, the RDT army. I made that up just now.
The RDT army is nowhere near as great as the pleb pack over on my stream.
Pleb pack.
Yeah, pleb pack. I've never had a name for my viewers. Like, you're just people.
Just do like I do and call them fools. That's what I do.
I guess I do call everybody scumbags. Maybe that's the thing.
RD team.
All right.
So is it time for some questions?
I think it's time for some questions.
Okay.
If we have any.
We do. We've got a couple of questions. So our first question this week comes from Trumpet Master.
Hello, caller. You're on the Choking Hazard podcast, the home of, reviewing desserts in a bottle. Who's your question for, and what's your question?
Yes, this is for everyone. And I have a good question about the MCECs and how they've turned out in terms of the round 10 championship situations.
Oh boy.
Because example, you have Digital Den and Arcadius fighting for third over the teams championship on Xbox, and you also have GT2 on the Xbox as well, having a decent little fight there. And I was wondering how you guys thought about how it's panned out and overall reflection.
Oh god, that's more content than just an answer to a question at the end of a podcast. Jesus.
Yeah.
The MC and most of the people watching this won't have even got caught up on what's been happening in the MCC because they haven't been watching it live, and the videos are we still haven't done round 3 yet. So it hasn't been the most exciting of finales I think this season, to be honest. There's only really 3 championship fights individually across 9 championships for the final round, and there's only 1 team's championship that's gone down to the wire. So, and even then, the individual championships that still haven't been decided are long odds for anything different to happen. So I don't really see it. It hasn't been. It's not like Season 3 GT1, say, on Xbox, where it was finish third and you're losing the championship, finish second and you're winning the championship. That sort of thing. Yeah. Too much to go into for an overall view of how the MCC's gone, from my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I'll give you my personal perspective. It was a mess, and unfortunately, I did not end up enjoying it this year as much as I have previous years. So that was a combination of a lot of different aspects. So, I wish it could have been just as good, just as much fun as I've had previously, but it didn't turn out that way for me personally as a driver. So
yeah. I'm kind of the same as just overall as well. It's not been the best one, but neither was season 2 was the overall best. So, RDT, anything to say? Or nothing.
Not really. I think I agree. I think it was a little bit overhyped. I'm not saying that it didn't deserve the hype, but I think the outcome just didn't hold up to what everybody expected it to be.
No, the videos are still going to be good. I'm going to make sure of that, obviously. We still got all that to come. But the actual championship, it dragged on a bit too long, I think, as well. And a lot of people started to get
half a year
sick of GTA by the end of it as well. So.
The breaks were a good idea at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then once, we got a month until we're halfway through, and then we gotta wait another 2 weeks. It definitely makes it easier to drive, but it was too much. It's too long.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for your question,
Trumpet.
Next question.
So our next question is from Major Copyright.
Hello, caller. You're coming live over the airwaves, coming on to the Choking Hazard podcast. Who's your question for, and what is your question?
So my question is for all of you.
By that you mean rough?
Yeah, I'm gonna get to Nos after my question. I had stuff to bone pick with you, but first my question.
Ooh.
It's not what the segment's about.
The question is for what are your favorite superheroes from Marvel and DC, and why?
I didn't hear any of that.
What the favorite
Yeah.
superheroes from Marvel and DC and why? I don't even know the differences. Is Superman DC?
What? What?
Yeah.
Superman's DC, right? And Batman and all that.
Yeah,
If
we're
you
not-
say
I don't-
Superman's your favorite superhero, we're gonna have an entire extra podcast worth of time of me yelling at you. Anyway,
That is what I was going to say, because he is. So, Superman's the only unique one. He had his powers from the start, whereas the rest of them gained the powers from,
What?
what?
I don't even really like superheroes that much, and I'm like, what?
Well, like, Spider-Man gets his powers from a spider. And whereas Superman has the power, that's just him. He doesn't get his.
Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman's like a god, a demigod.
Yeah, okay, Thor is pretty awesome. But to be honest,
Thor's
the
a
vast
god.
majority, that was my favorite. I don't know what I was going to say is my favorite DC, but this vast majority of the Marvel superheroes are better, I think. Trying to pick a favorite one from Marvel. I don't know. You could come back to me.
Well, I just finished the first season of the Punisher series on Netflix. I'm
Don't
on the
spoil it.
I'm not spoiling it. Don't worry. I'm just saying that I am firmly on the Punisher hype train, and I like the Punisher a lot. So, you know what? That'll be my answer, because I don't really care enough to like sit and give you an actual answer, because I'm not a big superhero guy. But the Punisher was an excellent series on Netflix. Definitely recommend it. John Bernthal's pretty cool, and that'll be my answer for you.
I grew up loving Batman. Batman will always 100% be my favorite superhero of all time. I hate what's going on with the current DC universe. It's abysmal. Batman, definitely my favorite DC, and Daredevil might actually be my favorite Marvel.
I just started that series
Superhero.
on Netflix. Is that recommended?
Fantastic series.
Alright.
But I saw the 2003 Ben Affleck Daredevil movie when I was a very young boy. I think it was out in 2003. And I know it's terrible now, but back then I loved it. And I think it's just such a cool idea for a superhero, somebody who's blind but overcomes that with their extra supernatural abilities. It's awesome to me.
Cool.
The reason that I like Superman is because of
Oh,
the same
God.
reason that RDT likes Batman. Growing up watching it, I used to watch the TV show, the Superman, whatever it was called, The New Adventures of Superman or whatever it was. I used to really enjoy that TV show, and I'm not really big into superheroes, and I never really have been. I've enjoyed watching the Marvel movies since they've come out, but beyond that, not really too into them. But when it comes to the Marvel, I mean, Deadpool was a great movie, but I don't think I'd put him as my favorite superhero. It would probably be between Thor and Iron Man. Probably I would lean towards Thor at the moment.
Okay. All right.
All right. But I just want to attack two things in chat before we move on. Okay, someone said that the Punisher is not a real superhero, and that is incorrect because the Punisher is a United States Marine, and every United States Marine is a hero. Also,
Then you could say that Batman's not a superhero. That's not an argument that we're gonna have. Because
and
Batman
also,
is one.
don't badmouth the Punisher movie. That was part of my childhood, and you take that back, Netrex. Anyway,
Not
we can
that
move
bad
forward
either.
now.
This could
Not
be a topic
terrible.
for an entirely different podcast.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I could hang. In the,
What's that guy's Thomas Jane? He did a great job as Frank Castle.
Thank you,
In
copyright,
what, the
for the
movie?
question, though. It's produced much hate on me, so thanks for that.
As usual, I usually do.
Superman.
Well, I'm-
Superman.
Brings it up. Nos, how can you not like lowriders?
It's dumb. It's not the fact. It's
Let's
not the
not,
fact.
you
that
don't
I
get two
like
questions in
lowriders.
this. No, you had your question. You don't get two questions.
Copyright,
No.
thank you.
No, I get to answer the question. That's my choice. All right, I don't dislike the idea of lowriders. I dislike the cars that they made into lowriders. Almost all of them are stupid. All right, where's the peyote? Huh?
Yeah,
Where's
I'm still
the
waiting for the
Rihanna?
peyote lowrider.
Next question.
Yeah,
Where's
let's continue.
the bloody picador?
Yes,
Let's
where's
continue.
the picador?
Let's
Where?
continue.
I
Let's
don't know.
continue.
Dying. Let's go.
Right, we've got 2 super quick write-in questions. It'll be super quick. Brough, Jaji asks, can you give us a quick rating out of 10 on GT Sport, what you're feeling about it, and what do you think about the single-player campaign stuff that's coming? You looking forward to it?
At the minute, I would give GT Sport a 7. I think it's fantastic, but it is lacking in content. With the single player stuff that's to come, that is a big update, and it's bringing a lot of what makes Gran Turismo. I would give it a 9. If it had more tracks, it would be 9.5. The tracks are the worst thing about it, but in general, I'm really enjoying the whole setup that they've got going on with it, and it's kind of perfect for me, to be honest. It's not too serious, but it's still serious enough to be. It's a lot of fun.
Super. Thank you very much for your question, Georgie. And one more question from Rosie Moranto 18, who asks, do you know or remember in GTA San Andreas multiplayer, it had a do your own missions section? Do you think if Rockstar added this to GTA 5 online, do you think that would be a good addition, a mission creator?
Oh yeah, that'd be excellent. That'd be
Mission
absolutely
creator
excellent.
would be. People have been asking for that for a long time, ever since the creator was released. When are we getting a mission creator? It'd be good.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, well that was it.
All right, brilliant. 9.5. What is the other 0.5 missing? More cars, I think, and I don't know. This is more in depth than. I just don't feel like I was about to say 10 with more tracks, but I don't feel like it was a 10 out of 10 game with just more tracks. So I need to give it more thought. There's definitely some, the camera issues, yes, and that's it. The customizability of Gran Turismo isn't quite as good. You can't move things around the screen. You can't, that needs improvement. But beyond that, it's very good. It's a good base game. All right, I think we're done. Another long one.
All right.
See, we were having less podcasts, but they're getting longer and more full of quality, I feel.
It's the last one of the year. So.
This is the last one of the year.
Yeah, going out on a high note, maybe? Is this a high note?
I think this was a good one. I've enjoyed this.
Okay.
Hopefully people have enjoyed.
It's okay.
No, this is just going to be the ultimate triggering. Like, everybody in the comments is going to disagree with this.
There's going to be so many comments saying, no, how can you put that one there? No, this was the worst.
Yeah,
this was the
that fat, dumb Alabama boy has no idea what he's talking about. And that guy who tries too hard to be funny.
Way too hard.
He's a
Right now,
moron.
literally.
It's just as he says it. Yeah, this is the final one for 2017. This podcast started in 2017. We are 20 episodes into it. Wait, did it start in 2017? It did,
yeah,
right?
it
It
did.
has to have done. It can't have started in 2016. I can't even remember. There's no way.
No, I feel like we would have went through this whole, like, oh, this is the last episode of 2016, and we would remember it. So
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's been a good ride, and we've got plenty more to come in 2018. It's just that we're ending the year a little bit early for this one, I guess. But it's been fun. I've enjoyed
Yes,
it.
it has.
I've enjoyed
Merry
this podcast
Christmas,
in particular.
everyone. We're saying Merry Christmas again.
We're saying Merry
on the
Christmas
podcast.
because, we're not going to be saying it before that. Merry Christmas, have a happy
yeah, I'm
New
not
Year.
going to say no
Happy
happy
holidays.
holiday. No, wow.
All right. This is America.
Yeah.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, God. Do you want to say goodbye, guys?
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Go
See
easy.
you later.
See you later, guys.